In the unforgiving heart of the Old West, where mercy is rare and chances are scarcer than gold, one touch changed everything. Subscribe now, because this tale of survival, desire, and unexpected redemption will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about love and possession. The merciless sun beat down on Ironwood Crossing, a frontier town where gossip spread faster than tumbleweeds and judgment struck harder than whiskey. At the very edge of town, where civilization gave way to endless prairie, sat Clara Whitmore, 32 years old, and labeled worthless by every person who'd ever known her. Barren as the desert, they whispered, cursed. Others added with cruel certainty. Clara's fingers traced the wooden cross hanging at her neck, a wedding gift from the husband who had abandoned her 3 winters ago. The irony once lost on her faith in a place that had shown her none. Her stomach cramped with hunger, a familiar companion these past weeks since the general store refused her credit and the church women crossed the road rather than meet her eyes. The afternoon breeze carried the smell of fresh bread from Harlan, his bakery, tormenting her empty belly. She had grown thin, her once soft figure now sharp edges beneath faded calico. Shadows marked her hazel eyes, though they still carried a spark. Stubborn, unyielding, that refused to go out. Clara Whitmore. The voice was deep, gravelly, like boots grinding on gravel. She lifted her head and saw Elias McCord, the most successful rancher across 3 counties. His shadow fell across her like both a promise and a threat. At 45, Elias was a man carved out of the very land he ruled, weathered, unbending, undeniably powerful. McCord. Her voice cracked from thirst. He studied her with steel-gray eyes that seemed to see through skin and bone. "You're dying. It was a question." Clara lifted her chin, mustering dignity. She did feel, "I am surviving." "No." His boots shifted in the dirt. "You are fading away while this town circles like buzzards over carrion." The truth stung. Ironwood Crossing had already written her obituary in their hearts. The barren woman, the shame to her husband, his name. "What do you want, Mr. McCord?" she asked, trying to stand. She swayed. His hand caught her elbow, firm, yet unexpectedly gentle. "To make you an offer." Clara's breath hitched. In 3 counties, Elias McCord was known for 2 things: his vast cattle empire, and the fact his word was iron. Men twice his size stepped aside when he entered town, and women, married or not, found excuses to cross his path. "I don't have anything you could possibly want," she whispered. His eyes lingered on her hollow cheeks, her trembling hands, then slowly dropped to her empty belly. "You were wrong about that, Clara Whitmore." The way he said her name sent an unexpected shiver down her spine. Not the cold shiver of fear, but something warmer, more dangerous. "Come with me," he said, extending his hand, "for this town buries what's left of you." Elias McCord's ranch stretched across the horizon like a kingdom. Fences and cattle marked its boundaries. The ranch house stood tall against purple mountains, built from stone and timber that had weathered decades of storms. Clara sat at the kitchen table, her hands around a cup of real coffee, the first she'd tasted in months. Warmth spread through her chest as she watched Elias move about the kitchen with surprising ease. Beans, cornbread, bacon. The room filled with scents that made her mouth water. "Why?" The word slipped out. Elias set a plate before her, stacked with more food than she'd seen in weeks. "Eat first, talk after." She wanted to eat with dignity, slowly, but hunger won. She devoured the meal, and he didn't judge. When she finally looked up ashamed, he was watching her with those unrelenting gray eyes. "You asked why," he said. "Fair question deserves a fair answer." Outside, cattle lowed. Cottonwoods whispered in the wind. The kitchen felt like its own world. "I need a wife," he stated flatly. "This ranch needs a woman's hand. And I need—" He paused. Legitimacy. Clara froze. "I don't understand." He leaned back, calloused hands flat on the table. "People whisper about the bachelor rancher. They wonder why a man with land, cattle, and wealth hasn't taken a wife. They've begun to ask uncomfortable questions." The implication hung heavy. "So, a marriage of convenience?" Clara asked carefully. "More than that," he said. His voice dropped low. "I want children, heirs." Her hand went instinctively to her stomach. "Then you've chosen wrong. I am barren. Everyone knows it." Elias rose, circled the table, and placed his large hand firmly over hers, pressing against her flat belly. His touch sent a jolt through her body. "What everyone knows and what As true aren't he always the same? My husband tried for 7 years, she whispered. Your husband was a drunk who blamed you for his failures. Elias's hand pressed more firmly. A real man does to give up so easily. The heat of his palm burned into her core. She had never been touched like this, confidently, possessively, as if her body held promise, not failure. This is madness, she whispered, but she did pull away. Maybe. His thumb stroked a circle, but it's the kind of madness that builds legacies. Her voice cracked. And if I truly am barren, if nothing changes? Elias knelt beside her, eyes steady on hers. Then we will have tried together instead of you dying alone. But Clara, his voice was rough, certain. I don't believe you are broken. I believe you've never been cherished. 3 weeks into their arrangement, Clara dared to believe again. The ranch became her world, vast, alive with hope. Elias treated her as a partner, not charity. He asked her thoughts on the household, even the ranch. Her cheeks filled out, her auburn hair regained its shine. Dresses he bought actually fit. She felt like a woman again. But the nights confused her most. He gave her the master room, took a smaller one himself. Yet sometimes she caught him watching her, an intensity in his gaze that made her breath catch. When he steadied her hand, his touch lingered. Mrs. McCord called Javier, his foreman, as she hung laundry. Boss wants to see you in the north pasture. She found Elias mending a fence, sweat darkening his shirt. Storm knocked down 100 feet of fence, he said. Cattle might stray onto Callaway's land. At the mention of her old name, she flinched. That name isn't mine anymore. He stepped closer. No, you are Clara McCord now, my wife. The words lit a fire in her veins. They'd been wed by a circuit judge 3 weeks earlier, witnessed only by Javier and his wife, but not yet truly married. Elias, she faltered. He closed the distance until she breathed leather and sweat. What is it, Clara? I don't know how to be a wife anymore. It has been so long since anyone. He gently removed her bonnet, auburn hair catching sunlight. Since anyone what? He pressed. Wanted me. His hands framed her face. Clara Whitmore, I've wanted you since the day I found you dying at the edge of town. I've wanted you at every meal, every night. I lay awake knowing you were down the hall. Her heart thundered. But what if I disappoint you? What if... He silenced her with a kiss that stole her doubts. That evening, as the sun bled orange and pink, Elias led her into his room. Are you certain? He asked one last time. Instead of words, Clara unbuttoned her dress. In the lamplight, standing brave in her shift, she whispered as he drew her close. My husband. 2 months later, Clara stood before the mirror, hands on her belly. Morning sickness, tenderness, queasiness, signs she had prayed for, now real. Bootsteps echoed on the porch. Elias returned from the cattle. She steadied her breath. How did you tell a man his faith was rewarded, Clara? His voice filled the house. In here, she called. He entered, pale eyes finding her. You look pale. Are you well? Her hands trembled. Elias, I need to tell you something. Concern darkened his face. What is it? Nothing's wrong, she said quickly, then took his hands. Everything is right, more right than I ever dreamed. His gaze dropped to her hands over her stomach. Realization struck. Clara, his voice cracked. Are you? Yes, she whispered, tears spilling. I am with your child. Elias let out a shout of joy, lifting her off the ground, spinning her until both laughed through tears. I knew it, he cried. I knew you weren't broken. You only needed the right man to believe. Clara pressed his hand to her cheek. You saved my life, Elias McCord. No, he murmured, kissing her forehead. We saved each other. Weeks later, they rode into Ironwood Crossing together, Clara's glow undeniable. At Harlan's bakery, jaws dropped. At the store, whispers turned from cruel to awed. Yes, Clara told the stunned church ladies, chin high, we're expecting our first child come spring. The barren woman, now a mother-to-be. That night, as the sunset bled into stars, Clara leaned on Elias's shoulder. Do you ever regret it? She asked softly. Regret? His arm wrapped around her, hand on the swell of her belly. Regret claiming the most precious thing I'll ever own. Never, Mrs. McCord. If you are still here, like this video and subscribe, so you never miss stories of betrayal, redemption, and love that defies the odds. Beneath the darkening sky, Clara smiled. For the first time in years, she believed, claimed, cherished, carrying the future in her heart.